welcome back to another episode. Wait, if I'm welcoming you, that is such a weird sounding word, isn't it? If I'm welcoming you back, how can I welcome you back to another episode? Which implies that you're listening to a different episode for the first time. So, yeah. Welcome back to my favorite podcast, Velvet Owl Watches Movies, so you don't have to. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of other podcasts that mine the same territory of talking about bad movies. And it's kind of interesting just to see, like, the differences. Like, for example... Well, I mean, not example, just really the main difference is that the other podcasts, they will take the time to, like, research things about the movies. They watch the movies beforehand, take notes, and just kind of do this research so that they know a lot about what they're talking about. I, on the other hand, do no research and just tend to just go in, watch the movie with whatever little bit I know. The less I know, the better. For example, this week's movie, Peter Rottentail. All I know is that it's a bunny. And the poster, like the tagline is, "You'll be having a bad hair day." And it's hair, S-H-A-R-E. Oh boy. That's some quality Looney Tunes pun shit right there. And I don't know if I can describe to you the picture, and I hope the picture is accurate of, like, what the costume looks like. Because it looks fucking, like, horrible. It's kind of like just this really cheesy, like... I mean, not super cheesy, not cheap type mask. Like, it's a full-on head bunny mask with, like, just some evil-looking eyes. But the hands he's wearing look like they're from a bear costume or something. They do not look like bunny hands at all. Because, you know, he's an evil bunny. And he's also wearing, like, a tuxedo. So, he's a classy evil bunny. Because he also has a top hat. So, Peter Rottentail. Oh, yeah, I meant to say, like, Happy Easter. Because at least I think this will be the Easter episode. Makes sense. I don't know if this movie actually takes place during Easter. Because it was a toss-up. Because I was going to watch this or Beaster Day. And at least Beaster Day, I know, probably 99% sure that one's going to actually take place in Easter. Whereas Peter Rottentail just might be a Killer Rabbit type movie. And not necessarily during Easter. But I don't really give a fuck, and Peter Rottentail is the shorter of the two films. So that's what we'll go with. Maybe next year, Beaster Day, or probably some other, like, evil rabbit movie. So we start off with a magician, who's probably the worst magician ever. Worse than me, if there could possibly be a fucking worse magician than me. Actually, I am not that bad of a magician. I can do simple card tricks. And basically, I found the key to magic. You know, they always say sleight of hand and, you know, you gotta redirect where people are focused on. I think the key to magic is just get your audience pissed drunk. So drunk that they don't know what's going on. To the point that their brains are the level of, like, a 2-year-old. And then the magic trick seems like, whoa, how did you do that? But this guy... He's so awful, he's fumbling the cards, and all the kids are booing, and apparently they're throwing cake at him. Except, we don't see the kids, and we don't see the cake. Because those things cost money. And apparently they're not in the budget. But, you know, I feel for him, because, you know, my magic trick of pulling a penis out of my pants, that generally doesn't go well at kids' parties. No, I don't really pull my penis out at kids' parties. I only do that at adult parties. But kids' parties, they're often filled with single moms. So, you know, after hours, that's when you do the pull the penis out of your pants trick. So anyhow, Sky, who supposedly got pelted with cake, and is walking out of the house from one trailer to, I guess he's going to another trailer in the trailer park. Completely clean. No cake on him. So, I guess, luckily for the budget department and the props department, he managed to avoid all the cake that got thrown at him. And now he meets a mystery man also walking through the trailer park. And he's kind of really covered up, kind of like that weird mystery guy that you're not able to really see him. But he is fucking obviously white, speaking with, the worst Jamaican accent. It's almost like he was going for some other kind of accent and didn't know how to do it, so he landed on a bad Jamaican accent. Which, again, that's something I can relate to. So every time I try to do an accent, it just comes out to that, I'm a bad Jamaican. Which really, bad Jamaican accent just... If you just say "mon" a lot, then it kind of just people will fill the gaps in their mind, and they'll be like, yeah, that is a very shitty Jamaican accent. So, mysterious white guy with Jamaican accent. He said, hey man, you want the magic? Oh, you know what? That makes sense. That's why he's Jamaican, because it's magic, and Jamaicans do voodoo, right? And, yeah. I mean, you got Miss Cleo. She can read your future. And you had the Jamaicans in Weekend at Bernie's 2 that tried to bring Bernie back to life, but they used pigeons. No, they didn't get the pigeons. They used fried chicken instead of a live chicken, which meant that Bernie could only walk when music was playing. God, I love Weekend at Bernie's 2. I don't care what any of you think. That movie is a fucking classic. So, fake white Jamaican dude gives him a vial of the sweat of something. I forgot. I wasn't paying attention. No, I was paying attention, but then a lot more things happened. More important things happened, so that piece of information just went out my brain. And he's like, this is for your magic, and yeah, doesn't ask for anything in return. So that's when you know you can trust the weird mystery guy. Or I think generally the rule is, if he doesn't ask for something, do not trust him at all. Because there is some fucked up shit going on there, and that's why he won't take the money, because he wants to make sure you take it. Something evil's gonna happen. And so he goes to his next party, which they could afford kids. So, the budget allowed for a certain amount of kids. And there's 2 kids at this party. So I guess probably the budget only allowed 2 kids. And instead of splitting up 1 kid for each party, that's why we get none at the first party. And this party is just the 2 kids and their dad, which is just so sad and depressing. It's fucking hilarious. But yeah, you could just feel the desperation of poor old single dad here, or divorced dad. I'm guessing he's divorced dad, and he's like, I'm gonna show my son a good time for his birthday, and I couldn't get anyone to come, and all I could get is this horrible magician, and no cake at this party either, because cake was not in the budget for the film. Oh, did I mention that this film is shot on home video? It's old school, a 1990s camcorder or something, which is just a good sign. I like when they're like, fuck it, we can't afford a real film camera. Let's just get the camcorder and we'll work with that. Those are some of the best bad films, in my opinion. So, he tries his tricks. He's gonna pull a bunny out of his hat, which, has less success than my pull a penis out of my pants trick. Though, really, I'm the one who should not have success with that trick. But, the bunny escaped, and the kids are just laughing at him, and then he says he's gonna drink this vial of liquid, magic liquid, and he's gonna turn into Peter Rottentail. who's the unholy spawn of a man and a rabbit. Which, okay. Like, we're going straight on bestiality with your trick. I guess that's one way you can go with it. And the dad's kind of like, he's like very like worried, like, I don't like that this involves bestiality. But it's all for naught, because he drinks the liquid, and the magician, nothing. He got ripped off. Except, as far as I can tell, he didn't pay anything for the liquid. So he didn't really get ripped off. He just lost his dignity. But dude, you lost your dignity well before that. You're performing magic tricks in a trailer park, apparently going from one trailer to another. And you lost your rabbit, which is kind of sad. And I feel bad for the dad. See, he was probably trying. There was not much he could go, and this is all he could do to get for his kid's birthday, because he wants his kid to have a good birthday. Now his kid is going to hate him for the rest of his life. So after he's been thrown out, the magician is just going crazy, because he's hearing the fake Jamaican voice in his head, and he wants out of his head. And then there's a cleaver that suddenly appears, a meat cleaver, and then he's in his bathroom, and on the radio, the police have a warrant out for his arrest for assault. So I don't know if he committed assault somewhere, because pretty clear, sad, depressed dad put his hands on the magician and threw him out, and at the other party, kids threw the birthday cake at him. So in both cases, he was justified to stand his ground and use violence, and he didn't even use violence. So why are they after him for assault? Has he been assaulting people with the meat cleaver? Because if so, they need to actually really clarify that, because we see him just going crazy after 2 fucked up magic gigs, and suddenly he's in his toilet and he decides he's gonna kill himself. He puts the shotgun to his head, and BAM! Instead of seeing a head blow up or even any fake blood, because that costs money, it's not in the budget, it just goes to his title card, Peter Rottentail. And then it's 13 years later, and this guy wakes up, and I think he might have been one of the little kids at the party. I'm assuming. I don't know who the fuck he is. They don't really, give us, at least yet, any sort of theory of who he is. But on the news, they're talking about it's the anniversary of the death of this magician. And every year, kids will go and desecrate his grave, because there's an urban legend that he will kill you or something. Probably from that evil magic potion he drank. It's made him a killer. It's made him Peter Rottentail. Theoretically. His name is Peter. So he's got that part down. So, as far as, I don't know. We don't know yet that he's becoming a bunny. I'm just assuming, based on the picture and the title of the movie, that he becomes an evil bunny. But who knows? This could be one of those bait and switch films, and we don't actually get an evil bunny. You know what? I don't know if I would love the film more or if I would hate it more if they did that. Because on the one hand, I'd be really pissed off. Dude, you promised me an evil killer bunny that looks like a very cheap costume. But in another sense, to have the balls to offer that and fucking bait and switch you like that when this movie has absolutely nothing else to offer, at least so far, you know what, I would respect you, film, if you do not give me Peter Rottentail. I will simultaneously respect you and hate you. So now we've got these 2 douchebags, one who has glasses, the other has a beard. That's as far as of characterization they get. And Glasses douche is My dead uncle, he has weed hidden in his basement, so let's go and let's find the weed. And Beard Douche is like, yeah, man, let's do that. So they go and they're looking through. They can't find it, but they do find a book of spells. Mwahahaha. And so Glasses Douche reads a spell. And at first they think like, oh, nothing happens. But out in the graveyard, out from underneath a grave, rises Peter Rottentail. And yes, we got the full on. The picture did not lie to us. He's got the mask that he got discounted. It was the day after Halloween at Party City. And the bear or gorilla gloves, because they're like brownish, blackish. They are not fucking bunny gloves. And so I don't know if they couldn't find bunny gloves, or the director's just like, no, we need dark hair gloves so that people know this rabbit is evil. But he's wearing his hat and his magician's tuxedo, just so we know that it is the magician, who's now a bunny, which I don't know if we'll get an explanation why he's a bunny now, and I don't know if I would prefer it that we do get one, or if we don't get one. I guess we'll just see how it goes. And so he hops over to the dead uncle's house, and as he hops, we get a spring bounce noise. Boing, 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 so that he's bouncing. He's not just walking. Because, evil rabbits, when they bounce, you get the bounce sound effect. They're going for realism here. And so, the douchebags are like, whoa, we summoned our own demon. But this demon's kind of lame, because he's a rabbit, and he's got, a horn that he keeps honking. So they tell him, go away, demon. We'll try to find a cooler demon. And Peter Rottentail's not happy about that. So he takes a carrot and he stabs them. We don't see the actual stabbing because, budget reasons. We can't afford to show the special effects of getting stabbed with a carrot. But as they each fall down to their death, they spit up a spoonful of jam. Because, that's close enough to being blood, right? It kind of looks like blood if you, squint really quick. Seriously, at least, I don't know, go for some Kool-Aid. Why do they always try to go with, jam or jelly, these super low-budget films? Why not go for Kool-Aid? I mean, what? Yeah, maybe it's not thick enough, but I think red Kool-Aid has the perfect texture or perfect color, or Jell-O, because, and this is true, when my wife had surgery, they told her beforehand, do not eat red Jell-O, because if it's in your stomach when they're doing surgery, they cannot differentiate between red Jell-O and blood. At least, one of the surgeons said that. Then the other surgeon was like, that guy's a fucking idiot. I can tell the difference between Jell-O and blood. But, if some surgeons can't tell the difference between red Jell-O and blood, why don't you use Jell-O for blood? Jell-O is fucking cheap as hell. What is, 99 cents a box? And a box of Jell-O will get you, a good amount of Jell-O. It will get you a bowl of Jell-O. Which you can... and so just have the person, kind of chew it up first before you shoot the scene where they spit out the blood. This is genius. I am going to fucking revolutionize low-budget horror films. Use Jell-O for blood. And douchebags are dead, and Peter Rottentail hops away. Now, Nerd Boy, who's the guy that woke up and watched the story about Peter Rottentail, except they didn't know he was a bunny, just a dead magician, who I think is one of the kids from the birthday party. Anyhow, he's Nerd Boy. And he gets a call from his cousin, Burnout. Because this guy looks like a fucking burnout. He's got like long, greasy hair and a bad goatee, and he's wearing a shirt that says white trash, and he's playing Game Boy. Which, nothing against Game Boy, but, then they start talking about like the internet and internet scams, and okay, you're playing like the old original gray and white Game Boy game. Or, it wasn't even gray and white, it was gray and darker gray. Seriously, if it weren't for Tetris and then later Pokemon, there's no way the Game Boy system would have like lasted or had a legacy. The colors were gray and darker gray and kind of greenish. But this guy, because he's a burnout, is playing Game Boy. And so he calls and they're gonna go hang out to hopefully do something that's not playing Game Boy. Now there's a wino. Is wino okay to say? Is that like a politically correct term? Because I don't think we should be calling them bums anymore. Just, I guess, homeless is probably the preferred nomenclature. But is it okay to say wino? Homeless alcoholic. So a homeless alcoholic is going through the trash of the trailer park, because I believe that this trailer park is the only place they were able to get a permit for shooting. And part of me even wonders if they got a permit. Because they got a camcorder, so, quick. Let's record as quickly as possible before anyone knows what we're doing. And so he's going through the garbage, looking for garbage stuff, I guess, to eat or whatever. And Peter Rottentail shows up. And the homeless alcoholic is just kind of like, whoa, didn't I see you at a party once? Hey, can you spare some change for a Vietnam vet? And so I don't know if we're supposed to take that at face value, or if that's just a clue that this wino is fucking lying to us. This dude's like late 30s, early 40s. Ain't no fucking way he served time in Vietnam. So, is it that they couldn't get someone old enough to play a Vietnam vet? Or dirty enough to play a homeless guy? Because he is clearly just... maybe, like, it's intentionally... He's just a fucking drunk college student and is lying and pretending to be a homeless Vietnam vet to get money for booze. Could be. Somehow I don't think the film is being that, like, smart. So I'm gonna say, like, this is, like, the youngest Vietnam vet ever. He was conceived during the Vietnam War. And this is his curse. So Peter Rottentail, he's like, oh, I've got something for you to drink. And he takes out this giant turkey baster and squirts some liquid into the fake Vietnam vet's mouth. But, oh boy, this may surprise you, but Peter Rottentail didn't give him alcohol. He gave him witch's piss, which did not settle well into his stomach, and he falls down while a smoke bomb goes off in his stomach or something. Like, smoke starts coming out of his, like, shirt. I don't know why, because you think, like, is something dissolving in him? I don't know, but he spits up some cherry jam, so he's dead. Because, when you spit up cherry jam, that is the sign that someone has died. So Nerd Boy goes over to Burnout's house, and Burnout, his father, has, like, a proposition for them. If they get together and clean out Grandma's closet, or house, 'cause she's dead, Grandma's dead, and someone needs to get the shit out of the house, they will make money. A lot of money. I don't know, I think they said how much. It's not important. It's not important. It's a lot of money that they get paid. But Burnout, he's got his own plan. They take the money, spend some of it hiring stupid high school kids to go and do all the work, and then they can just go and get wasted on the rest of the money. Which isn't a terrible idea. Not the worst idea I've ever heard. So, Nerd Boy, because even though he's a nerd boy, he's still kind of more of a burnout. But he looks like a nerd, so he's a nerd boy. He thinks, yeah, this is a good idea. But then that night, he has nightmares of seeing a shadowy creature with a meat cleaver. Wahahaha. Which, I don't know, was the magician killing people with a meat cleaver? Because now that he's Peter Rottentail, he does not have a meat cleaver. But the magician had, like, a meat cleaver show up. And then it just jumped to him, like, blowing his brains out. So does the meat cleaver come into play? Why is the nightmares of the meat cleaver? I don't know. I need some backstory on this magician. All I know is he fucked up, took some bad liquid from a mystery fake Jamaican, blew his brains out, and is now a rabbit man. So Nerd Boy and Burnout make it to Grandma's house, and they're pulling up. Meanwhile, one of the neighbors across the street, she's a nosy little bitch, is looking out and talking to her friend on the phone like, oh no, there's these guys, and they're going into the vacant house across the street. They might be moving in. And her friend on the phone's like, and I will give the film credit for this line. This line is fucking awesome, in my opinion. The friend says, looks like old Steely Dan may have to go back into the underwear drawer. Just great fucking obscure reference, in my opinion. Because if you don't know, Steely Dan, the band, is named after a dildo. So, just what a great obscure, like, oh, your dildo's gonna, you don't need your dildo anymore. But, so now, did she name her dildo Steely Dan? Is it the particular type of dildo Steely Dan was? Or did they just nickname, they use Steely Dan as like general catch-all for all dildos? Inquiring minds want to know. But that was perfect. And of course the friend says this because she hasn't seen how just fucking ugly and unfuckable Nerd Boy and Burnout are. But even the neighbor who can see them, which I'm guessing she can't get a very good look at them, she's considering it, even though she thinks they might be gay. But I think Steely Dan might get rest for one night. Take the night off, Steely Dan. So now Nerd Boy and Stoner Boy are checking around the house, and they look in the basement, and oh no, the hot water tank seems to be leaking. They're going to need to get someone to fix that. Oh, Stoner Boy knows someone who'll fix it for weed. Yeah, that guy's going to be a true professional. You know, like they say, you get what you pay for, so hopefully you're paying him in the really good shit. Don't give him no skunk weed. Look at me, acting like I know about weed. I was one of those guys, like, I smoked weed in college, but other people's weed, so I have no idea, like, really the differences between weed and all the subtleties. It was more hey, you have weed? Let me get a hit. Pay you? Ah, fuck no. Yeah, I was the mooch. And I am not ashamed of it. Drugs are bad. So it's okay to be a mooch when it comes to drugs. Because you are not supporting the system. You are not financially supporting drug dealers. That's my justification. So they're looking around the house but hiding in the garage, which they can't open. Because I don't know. I think it's their garage. It might be the neighbor's garage. But they can't open the garage. And it's a good thing, because hiding in the garage is Peter Rottentail. And he says to himself, these nuggets... Fuck, I already forgot what he called them. Whatever. He said that they're going to be easy kills. I forget the verbiage because it's not really that good of a line. Now, Nerd Boy has some nightmares of, I guess, being chased by a crazy magician guy, I think. I don't know, he's being chased by some sort of crazed guy with the cleaver, so that's why I think it's the crazy magician who... Remember, we don't know what the fuck happened with him. He got a cleaver, and then he killed himself. And I will still not understand. I really want that plot point, like, given, like, Was he like a crazed killer who went on killing spree? But I digress. Nerdy Boy is woken up by a Jack-in-the-Box being wound up. And, you know, it starts playing that music. Do 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 do. Pop Goes the Weasel, which always makes me think of the song Pop Goes the Weasel by Third Base. Which, if you can, search up Third Base's performance at Woodstock 99. It is fucking awesome, because the guy gets so pissed off throughout the whole thing that no one's, like, into it. Like, people there did not come for Third Base. They were there, they were playing early, and it was just people who got there early and want to settle in, and so, like, they're not, like, reacting at all, and he gets pissed off, and finally they get to Pop Goes the Weasel, their big hit, and even that can't get the audience, and he's... excuse me. So he's trying to get the audience to sing along with him on Pop Goes the Weasel. Hold on a minute. Sorry I had a cough attack, but smartly for once I decided to pause my recording before just coughing all over the place. But yeah, he gets so pissed off because he's trying to get them to start off by singing the Pop Goes the Weasel song, and people won't sing along, and he gets so pissed off. He's like, "We're gonna do this again!" And it's great. It is probably... if only that had been the worst thing to happen at Woodstock 99, we would all be laughing about it, wouldn't we? So, but he wakes up, Nerd Boy wakes up, not the guy from Third Base. That would be a much more interesting film. Nerd guy wakes up and he goes searching, and he sees this Jack in the Box on the ground, and he starts playing it, and he's like, whoa. And then he sits down and he thinks he hears something. And it's Stoner Guy. He's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I don't know. There was this Jack in the Box. And they turn. The Jack in the Box is not there. Ooh. And then they go back to bed. Meanwhile, over at the lonely girl's house, who's super fucking lonely, I think she's watching porn, or at least softcore porn, girl porn, where, you know, everyone, like, just loves each other and they only insinuate that they're fucking but don't actually show any of the fucking. I'm not sure, but she's watching something where people are fucking, I'm pretty sure, and she's like, only in the movies, and she turns off and is like going to bed. She's like, I need a man, and you know what, she's cute. I'm gonna say she's cute. She should have higher standards than the two douchebags that she was kind of like looking at earlier. So you keep your standards. You stick with Steely Dan for right now. And I thought maybe we'd get that, but no. She goes to the bathroom to undress while Peter Rottentail is looking through the window. She doesn't get naked because that's not in the budget. Because I don't know if you know this about films, but you do have to pay extra if you want someone to be nude. Actually, I don't know if that's a steadfast rule. I think it depends on how well of a contract you can negotiate. But I think, like, general rule of thumb is you do have to pay an actress more if you want her to get naked. And this film can't afford it. I couldn't afford it for my film that I didn't make. But if I did make a film, I probably would not be able to afford the extra money to get women naked. So she goes to bed, and Peter Rottentail is like, I'd love to give her my magic wand. Which, I had been expecting like a rabbit pun, but he went with the magician pun. Because remember, he's also a magician. And I guess the magician part is more important than the rabbit part when it comes to puns. But unfortunately, he can't like go fuck her right now, because he's got other business to do. And he goes hopping off to like the payphone, and there's this guy. We'll call him douchebag because everyone's a douchebag in this. He's a cheating douchebag. Do I really even have to give him a name? Because he's going to die pretty soon. So, spoiler alert. So he's talking to his wife. He's like, oh, sorry, honey, but I have to work late at the office. And Peter Rottentail comes and he's like, just all up on his jock and shit. And he's like, oh, Gotta go, honey. This guy in a rabbit suit's coming up. I don't know what's up with him. And douchebag admits, like, he's not really working late. He's at the strip club, of course. And he tells Peter Rottentail, like, I've got an angry wife on the phone and a lap dance waiting for me across the street. And Peter Rottentail's all like, what a coincidence. I've got an angry stripper on the phone and your wife gave me a lap dance. I think they actually worded it better. I don't know. Their joke worked better than mine. I half chuckled. And so then the douchebag's like, oh, is that how it's going to be? You want to dance? Dance meaning let's fight. But Peter Rottentail takes it a little too literally and tries to do a waltz with him. And that gave me the other half of a chuckle. But, of course, douchebag's not for dancing. And he grabs Peter Rottentail's horn and he stomps on it to break it. Except he doesn't actually break it because it's not in the budget. We got to return this horn to Party City in the morning, so do not actually break it. And that makes Peter Rottentail very sad and angry. And he pulls out his meat cleaver and he whacks the douchebag with it. And some jam goes flying on the lights of the motel. Which, I'm kind of surprised they allowed the jam to go on the lights. They probably told the motel, like, no, don't worry, we are going to clean it up. Guys, clean this up. We cannot afford the safety deposit. The next morning, Nerd Boy is reading through the paper, and he sees a story about the guy who got killed by the payphone last night, which apparently they knew from back in the day. And holy shit, news travels fast. Because I'm pretty sure it was like the middle of the night when this happened, and it's already in the morning paper. God damn, that's some fast reporting there. But no time for reading the news, because they've got work to do. So they go outside and start raking the leaves, and Lonely Girl is staring at them, and she's like, yeah, they're definitely gay. I'm not exactly sure what about them, like, screamed gay. Like, seriously, like, it wasn't like they were, like, rubbing up on each other and, like, touching penises against each other or anything. They were just cleaning the yard. Straight people clean too, lady! Stop with your judgmental bullshit stereotypes. But so, they clean for a while, and then it's time for a break, and Stoner Boy says to Nerd Boy, like, you've been having all these nightmares lately. Do you want to talk about it? He's like, no, I can't really talk about it. Like, dude, I think you need to get some professional help. But I don't know any psychologist. The Stoner Boy's like, I'm not talking about psychologists. Let's go to the strip club. It's true. Strippers are as good as psychologists, in my opinion. Maybe even better, because you get the lap dance as well. Like, what are you going to take? Mental advice or mental advice and titties? Obviously, you go with the mental advice and titties. It's a 2-for-1 special. But Nerd Boy's like, no, I'm just going to wait for the plumber to show up. He's like, you're lost. And as Stoner Boy's leaving, he sees Lonely Girl, and he's like, hey, you want to go hit up the town? But she thinks he's gay, so she's like, oh, no, I'm surprised you're leaving your partner behind, but, you go on, have a good time. Come on, lady, you were just complaining about how you needed a man. At the very least, even if you think he's gay, he could be your fucking wingman. He can help you know what to do to get a guy. Because, right? That's how it works. Like, if you're a woman and you need help getting a guy, you find a gay guy and he has his gay superpowers or something. I don't know. I don't really watch rom-coms, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens in most of them. But no, so I guess she's just going to have another night with Steely Dan. Meanwhile, Nerd Boy, he gets a call. And it's Peter Rottentail. And Nerd Boy doesn't recognize the voice, but Peter Rottentail's like, here's a clue. happy birthday to you. And it clicks in Nerd Boy's head. It's the magician. And he's like, but you're dead. And then Peter Rottentail hangs up because he has no further. Actually, he might have said something further, and I just stopped paying attention. So the plumber finally shows up, and it's like dead of night. And he gets to work, and Nerd Boy's like, I need a breath of fresh air. So he walks off, which makes Peter Rottentail all excited, because that means he can kill the plumber in peace. So he hops in, and he's honking his horn, which thankfully it did not get broken. Thankfully there's the budget that said that we cannot break the horn, so you still have it to be able to honk. And the plumber's like, man, stop that. I've got a splitting headache. Jeez, like, could you set this up any more? You got a splitting headache, and out comes the meat cleaver. Is it still splitting, or it's splitting more, or I don't know. I don't even know what, like, bad pun he went for. So it was that bad that it just kind of went through my head like a cleaver. You know, I should be writing this movie. I could come up with puns as bad. And thankfully no jam is on the meat cleaver because they are on a strict jam budget. So they didn't have enough jam to show on the cleaver, just some for the plumber's head. Peter then says that he needs to go get himself some tail. Okay. Bunny pun instead of a magician pun. Good going. So he goes over to Lonely Girl's house, and she's staying home even though her friend invited her to go out, because she just can't handle all the rejection she gets. Which, I mean, she's cute, so I think maybe she has high standards. But no, she doesn't, because Peter shows up with a flower, and she's like, nah, whatever, and fucks him. So, hey, fuck a dead magician in a rabbit suit, or another night with Steely Dan. Obviously, go with the vibrator, lady. Maybe she has a fetish for dead magicians in bunny masks. I'm not going to kink shame here. Now, Stoner Boy is over at the strip club. Theoretically, we just see him sitting in a corner with lights flashing around him and some party music going on. Because, damn it, strippers are not in the budget for the film. So we can't show any strippers. You know, we can't even hire women to pretend to be strippers and, you know, just wear like a short dress and not go any further than that. You know, and just imply that they're stripping. Come to think of it, I think Lonely Girl and the voice of the woman on the phone have been the only women I've seen in this film so far. So maybe they have a strict women budget as well. Can only afford one woman to be on screen and one woman to be on the phone. Can't afford any more than that. So we can't afford people to pretend to be strippers. It's not in the budget. Nerdy guy decides, like, it's too cold, I'm going back home. And then he's attacked by Peter Rottentail. And he's like, no! But Peter Rottentail vamooses because Stoner Boy has shown up. And Nerd Boy's like, it's the magician! He's come back! He's trying to kill me! And Stoner Boy's like, dude, the magician's dead! And then they're like, wait, where's the plumber? Let's go check out in the basement. And they see his tools are there. And there's some jam on the floor. And they decide, well, he probably just cut his finger and went to the hospital or something. Sure, that's a likely thought. We'll go with it. But Stoner Boy is convinced, like, hey, that magician guy, he is dead. And Nerd Boy's like, I'll prove it to you. So, how will he prove it? Will they go to the grave and see that the grave is empty? So they go to Peter's grave. And oh no, it is empty. Someone's dug him up. Could it be that Peter is alive again. Because apparently Nerd Boy has been visiting the grave every year. I guess maybe to make sure that, Peter's still dead. But oh no, his body is missing. Could possibly be something. So they go back to the house. But then Stoner Boy's like, nah, I thought I believed it, but no, I don't believe it. So let's split up. Because that's always a wise idea, right? If you're worried there's a killer after you, split up. That always goes well. Never any sort of problem with it whatsoever. So, no prize for guessing that Peter Rottentail kills Stoner Boy. With a carrot. Through the head. And we kind of get to see the carrot go through the head. Somewhat. We see the point of contact, and then we see a piece of carrot sticking out of his head with jam. Which, I guess, that is the kill that they spent most of the budget on. I wish they, avoided that and spent some of the budget money on the stripper. Even someone pretending to be a stripper. I'm going to have to count during the credits how many, credited people there are. But I'm going to take a guess because I'm going to try to remember. So, Peter Rottentail, of course. There's Stoner Boy, Nerd Boy, the phone guy that got killed, the plumber, the random homeless vet, Lonely Girl. I guess we'll count Lonely Girl's friend who's only ever on the phone. The 2 kids at the birthday party. So, I count about 11. I think there's been about 11 people, 10 who've been on screen. So, I am going to count during and see if I'm correct. And I'm guessing half of the people on screen also had to hold the camera at some point or did some sort of production crew. So he's dead. Stoner guy. And Nerd guy is looking at a piece of cake with a candle on it. And he remembers the day he saw the magician go crazy and put the top hat on and grab the meat cleaver. And he went crazy, and you can tell he went crazy because for a second, the exposure goes negative. Ooh. And that probably was a lot of the budget, too. I imagine that was probably 20% of the budget right there, was that negative exposure effect. And he tries to chase and kill the kid, but the kid locks himself away. And now we're back in the present, and Nerd Boy says, I remember. And he goes looking for Peter Rottentail. This is it. This is going to be the final stand. Can he take care of Peter Rottentail? Or will Peter Rottentail take care of him? So Peter Rottentail and the Nerd Boy, they have a fight. Very awful fight. Trying to be slapstick and silly sound effects. And they're trying so hard to be a funny fight, but it's just kind of painful to watch. And then Nerd Boy takes off Peter's hat. And hat was the source of Peter's evil. And there was the chance for Peter to become a regular, real boy again. But he couldn't do it. Because he wanted to remain being Peter Rottentail. So he died. Not entirely sure. Oh yeah, because Nerd Boy steps on the hat. Which apparently destroys the power of the hat. And then 9 months later, Lonely Girl gives birth to, I want to say half rabbit, half human. I don't even really fucking know, because all we see is the fucking Peter Rottentail mask. And he's like, and says something and attacks the doctor. So I don't know if she gave birth to a bunny baby or to a man in a bunny mask. I don't know. I give up. The credits don't tell you who plays who, but there was 14 people listed. And I didn't count the doctor because I didn't know there was a doctor in this. So, yeah, whatever. 14 people. 1 woman! Fix your budget, dude. If you make a sequel, get a stripper in it. That is my advice to all filmmakers out there. Make sure that you have enough money in your budget to pay the strippers. So, as usual, at the end of these episodes, you can write me at velvetal@hotmail.com. Please, someone, anyone, no one ever writes me. Do any of you listen this far? Or you can leave a comment if you're on the YouTube page. And if you want to do a silly thing like and subscribe and whatever else, I don't know. You know what, I'm not going to tell you to do that because I have enough faith in you that if you listen to All This Way and enjoyed it, you will seek out the next one. Or you will, subscribe on your own so that you know to not miss the next episode. So, yeah, why should I tell you to do anything? You do what you want. Except watch Peter Rottentail. That I will tell you not to do. But if you make your own film, and I can't stress that enough, leave money in the budget for a stripper. And I want to thank the Living Brain Dead for providing the official theme song for Velvet Owl Watches Movies So You Don't Have To. It's called Never Fuck With Catgirls, and you can get it at livingbraindead.com, which you should totally do. They are not paying me for this, so I shield them out of my love for the music.